Welcome to Bite-Size Games, a podcast where me and a few gaming buddies talk about games that are 10 hours or less because, there's times in history where you don't know what's going to happen in the future, and time is a valuable commodity. So make the best of it.
Amen.
I'm joined here by...
Very deep. Well said.
This is a momentous day, by the way. We'll get into that, really. But I'm joined here by my gaming buddies, Matt and Dennis. How are you guys doing today?
Hello.
I'm doing.
Let's just get it out of the way that today was the presidential election results day, the day of the election and the results.
Yeah.
An incredible day,
Not
one of the best days.
Not when people hear this, but
yeah,
the day we record
the
this.
day we're recording this.
Yeah, the day of recording this
That's
is
why we're
the
all
day
drinking whiskey.
drinking whiskey. We're celebrating. We're pouring one out for the
celebration
homies.
Reasons, I think it might be the other way around, but
Yeah. Some people are celebrating. It's a good day for some.
over
Not
half
so
the
good for
country.
others. Yeah.
Yeah.
More than
Apparently.
half. And then we don't take sides. We're a bipartisan podcast. We don't take sides. We play games. We don't do politics. Okay.
I take sides.
Okay. Dennis takes sides. But I don't take sides. So
Sure.
I definitely take sides. So yeah, this is today we're going to be discussing a game called Thank Goodness You're Here. And it's a game developed by Cole Supper. I don't know if the studio's Cole Supper Studios. I don't know any other games from them. But it's a quirky little game.
They have another game, one other game that they developed that was called the Good Time Garden.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'll have to maybe look into that. Maybe it's similar, maybe not similar, but
It's a little bit similar.
yeah, we're going to dive into it before I describe the game. I do have a question for you guys, though. Okay.
All right.
If you can take any IP or game of a certain category, say like, Tomb Raider, Lara Croft, or Mortal Kombat, or Street Fighter.
Those
but
are
in
IPs. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're like a type of game, like a fighting game or something. If you could take any sort of loved IP or game and turn it into a different category of game, what game and what category would you want it to?
I see. That's an interesting question.
I did think we had a similar question at one point, but
Really?
maybe
I don't
not.
remember.
I thought we
I
might
feel like
have,
we've
but I
done
don't
like
know.
what would you do with this IP type of question, a
Like
few
for
times,
movies or
perhaps.
something. Like,
But
Yeah.
yeah, that's right. We did do that.
So let's start with.
You want to go first, or who's going first?
Start with Matt. Or do you need more time?
I would love to see a I don't know, Street Fighter rhythm dancing game.
That's not what I expected.
No,
Say that.
that sounds like you just rammed two genres that go against each other together.
Yeah, makes sense.
But
Hey,
it al-
you
but
just
also
type that in
sounds good.
ChatGPT.
It could be fun. You have to like pick punches and kicks. It's sort of like a Parappa the Rapper type
Or like Space
game,
Channel
but
5.
but with Street Fighter. Yeah.
So maybe it's like they're talking shit, like pre-match or something. I don't know.
No, it'd be like the fighting. Like the fighting would be done with like a rhythm game.
Okay, so you gotta like get the buttons down, kind of, and
Like
that
you
will
have
like
to do
a
combos
combo.
and stuff. It could be like, I don't know if you guys played Busted Groove on PlayStation, but it could
I
be
have
like
played
that.
Buster Groove. That was fun.
I
Where you
never
could
played
actually,
it,
like-
but I remember it.
You could choose what combos you wanted to put in, but you just had to make sure you did it to the beat. But you could kind of like freely do it, so it would be kind of that's kind of like how it would work. I feel like that was kind of a fighting game. That's true.
I guess like Bust the Move was like that. They didn't
Not
actually like
Busted Move,
physically
Busted
hit each
Groove.
other.
Busted
Buster
Move
Groove,
was-
yeah, Buster
Busted
Groove.
Move
They
was-
didn't like
Right.
hit each
It
other.
was that. Yeah, Busted Groove was a fighting game that was done with dancing and music.
I guess, yeah, it kind of was. I mean, they didn't like physically hit each other, but it was just like
but
that
it was
move,
style
just
where you have,
like
health,
hit
kind
them.
of like health bars, but the health bar
Yeah.
was just the camera. Like I
So
feel
it's like
it
dance
was like,
battles.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was really cool though. I really liked that game when I was a kid.
That game was
really
pretty
into it.
fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was super into it.
The music was pretty cool.
The music was really cool. They had really interesting characters. It was fun. It was a lot. It was just like a fighting game. Now that I think about it, I didn't consider that at the time. But well, there we go. It's been done to an extent.
Okay.
Just
Okay.
with Street Fighter characters.
Well, with Street Fighter, yeah, you can do it with Street Fighter.
Yeah.
Interesting. What about you, Dennis?
I'm gonna start with a genre. Maybe a tactics version, think like Final Fantasy Tactics. But what's an IP that I really like? I know that something recently came out that's kind of similar idea, but I was gonna say a Max Payne like tactics RPG or tactics
see
game
that
like
working.
like XCOM or something like that.
Right.
Okay, damn, I think I'm on a similar.
You'd have to like.
How cool would that
implement the
be?
bullet time in
'cause
some way.
especially actually every Max Payne, it's like a sequence of you go into a room, assess
Yeah.
the room, there's a bunch of dudes, and then you slow-mo
Mm.
kill them. It almost is kind of turn-based.
Yeah, it's
tactics
almost a
in a way,
puzzle,
but,
turn-based.
So I think that would translate really well to a tactics RPG.
That's a
game.
cool idea.
And
That's a cool idea.
if it had I don't know, they could incorporate cinematic dives and camera movements to
Right.
once you dial in your attacks.
Yeah,
That would be cool.
I do think the tactics genre could use a bit of a spice up these days.
The reason the reason this is on my mind is because the Metal Slug Tactics game just released yesterday, I think, and that's it's not like Max Payne, but it's a game franchise that was a 2D side scroller shooter that got adapted to tactics and is doing pretty well, or it has pretty good ratings.
Yeah, I've heard it's good. Yeah,
So
tactics.
that's my
I like-
choice.
I like that.
Yeah, that is a good choice, and I think that's kind of similar to what I had. And I don't want to say what I would say for every answer, so I'm going to try to. Although, okay, it's my second answer. I have two answers, and one is also kind of like a tactics XCOM, Elden Ring, or Dark Souls, basically. I think that would be an interesting. Like the NPCs that are in the games of Dark Souls, they already got a bunch of NPCs and stuff, so you can easily have a team of these characters and. And it's a much more gritty kind of
That's a funny idea.
XCOM type of game. I want to say a little more XCOM than Tactics in the sense that it's a very maybe just a couple hits and you're dead or something type of thing. So
It would have to be very difficult.
yeah, it would have to be very difficult.
I think the board game for Bloodborne. There's some kind of board game for Dark Souls or Bloodborne. Not the card game, but the board game that I think is like that.
The Blood game.
The Blood game.
That's the game that you play alone in your house.
But anyway, yeah, I don't think it doesn't exist as a video game though. Interesting idea though.
Yeah, and it's some of these IPs have come far enough that I think they could start to branch out, which is what typically happens when IPs get bigger. They start branching out and making different things, dipping into different things. And for another one,
go ahead.
Continue, because
I was just gonna say, for example, there are IPs that have done that before, like Gears of War had a tactics game.
Metal Slug.
Yeah,
I would want it to be almost like a Darkest Dungeon meets XCOM Dark Souls. That's what I.
Darkest Dungeon though.
I'm saying that in the sense of that's how some of those mechanics stress or
right.
how difficult it is. Yeah.
And kind of the aesthetic to it.
In that vein, yeah, in a very dark kind of gritty. Everything's so because I still love JRPGs and all that stuff, but I can't. It kind of annoys me these days that they're just still so they're stuck in 1999 or something. I feel like they just not have evolved at all. They still look all shiny and anime and you get what I'm saying. I do love the Dark Souls aesthetics. I do love I feel like that's the new. That's where things should go, or some things should go to differentiate themselves. And other one, I'd probably go for something, of course, Metal Gear and a Baldur's Gate type of game. That'd be fucking awesome.
Oh,
Wait,
interesting. So
like CRPG, but in the Metal Gear universe.
Yes, and like so Snake, you can sneak, you could go guns blazing, and basically the combat would be like like Baldur's Gate. Instead of like an action, you just take your turn moving and attacking a unit or something.
That would translate well, I think.
Yeah, that could be cool.
Yeah.
You'd
I feel
have
like
to
Metal
you could have
Gear
a
can
team of
transfer.
like a foxhound team.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Of,
and you
like-
get like mercenaries and all that stuff anyway, right? It's unfortunate this will never. Well, it could happen because Konami technically still owns Metal Gear, right?
And they're
It's just
probably
that
not
they
going to
have.
make any new main series games. They'll probably
Right.
just do more remakes and offshoots.
If Delta does
Zombies.
well, I wouldn't be surprised if we see other remakes down the line.
Mm.
And we already know that there's a Metal Gear collection coming out for the rest of the series that hasn't come out yet. Like for, I think, MGS 4.
Yeah,
is
4
supposed
is
to
going
be
to be
part of it,
finally
and
on something other
Peace,
than PS3.
Peace Walker is the other one, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be fun. So yeah, okay.
Do you, just a side question. Do you have any like? I mentioned like Gears of War Tactics, and then Metal Slug. Is there any games that you've played or IPs that you've played that have branched out into different genres that are like memorable or stand out to you in any way, or that you liked?
I mean, Final Fantasy Tactics is obviously one, I think.
Yeah, that's probably my number one.
Yeah.
And when I first played Final Fantasy Tactics, I was incredibly disappointed. I was like, "What the hell is this? This isn't
Right.
Final Fantasy."
Oh, that your reaction really reminds me of the first time when I was a kid playing Super Mario RPG, and I didn't know what an RPG was. And I
that's a
played
good
that,
one.
And,
Yeah.
and I tried to jump on a Koopa, and I went to this like turn-based, like the screen wipe, and I was standing there with like attack, like what is this shit? I was just trying to stomp this Koopa. What the hell just happened? That was exactly like the kind of reaction I had, but I ended up loving that game so much. So, yeah, hats off to
Nintendo don't
Square for
miss.
doing that.
Nintendo doesn't
Similarly,
miss,
I
man.
remember playing Final Fantasy Tactics, thinking like, "Oh, all right, well, it's different aesthetic and it's still kind of turn-based, but like." I got to a town. Surely I'll be able to walk around the town and talk to
Right.
people, and it doesn't
Nope.
have any of that. And I remember being very upset about that.
Yeah. Hey, but that was.
But then
that's
it
a-
went on
that's
to
a
be one of my
classic.
favorite games of all time. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
How about you?
They just
Phil?
they lost the magic, man. Where's the magic at? The magic. What about me?
Standouts like that.
I don't know if there's anything that really comes to mind. Like I was gonna say, I can't think of anything. That. For some other examples, though, I can't think of like any other examples actually. Even though there's
Well,
gotta be
Mario
plenty of
RPG
them.
was a good one, for sure.
That's a good
Yeah.
one.
You reminded me of that, so glad I thought of it.
Do you remember there was a Sonic the Hedgehog RPG? It was
Oh,
like Sonic Dark Brotherhood or something. It
I
was
had not
actually
played
made by
that.
BioWare.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. I had no
Oh,
idea.
okay. I did, and this is like
3D
a really.
Blast, though. That game sucked. At
That
least
was
I
bad.
didn't like it.
Sonic
I was so
Spinball. That was also
I
bad.
was- I feel like Sonic has had a lot of offshoots. Anyway,
Yeah.
sorry, Phil.
Well, this is going to be a minor game that I'm pretty sure neither of you played, and a lot of people don't know about. But what's it called? Capcom, the card fighting game. I liked that game a lot when that came out. The Neo Geo Pocket. Neo
Oh.
Geo Pocket.
I
And
never played
Capcom
that.
versus SNK. That's Capcom versus SNK card fighting game on a Neo Geo
I
Pocket.
know. What about? Oh no, that was Street Fighter.
There was a Street
one that
Fighter
was like
Puzzle
Tetris.
Fighter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Puzzle Fighter. That was a cool game.
That was
I
cool
remember
too.
one.
That
Yeah.
Puzzle Fighter was cool too, but this was kind of like pre-Pokemon maybe. It might have been around Pokemon or pre-Pokemon. No, it was post-Pokemon because the Neo Geo Pockets. Yeah, but similar thing, and like you get into battles and your cards would have like, if you had like Ryu or something and he had like a certain amount of power and health and he might have had like a unique ability and you had to battle another card and try to like, it was a
So it
fun
was
game.
Like a
and
trading card game.
yeah, it was a trading card game, and I'm sad it never really like got the Neo Geo Pocket was, I guess, just not big enough platform.
Well, they
really
they
get
did
big.
release like a Street Fighter series of Magic cards, like
Oh,
Oh, did they?
There was that was one of their like seasons at one point. I never played
Wow.
it, but
Well, see, that's all connected to like Magic now, and it's like, I'm not sure. I have mixed feelings about that whole. I would like to see these things be their own things instead of like all be tied to Magic, which is like now.
yeah.
That's a whole nother
that's
conversation.
I mean,
Magic
it's hard to. I don't know. It's Magic is so dominant in the card game area, especially physical card game
Yeah.
area.
Well, look it up if you ever have the
It's
chance or
probably
something like
it's
that.
probably a lot easier to just do a collaboration with Magic
Yeah.
than it is to build your own card
Yeah,
game.
I think that's what most of these people do now. They're like, we can't make our own. Like, might as well just
Right.
just sell it to
We have a
Magic
big
and
enough
let
IP.
them do
We
it.
might as well just collab with Magic.
Yeah, instead of trying to compete with it.
Wizards of the Coast.
Where's the coast? Where's his other coast? Big money. So okay, good answers. So yeah, let's go back to talking about the game. Thank goodness you're here, which is, let's talk about our overall statements of this game. It's a British. I don't even really know how to describe it. Adventure game, puzzle adventure game comedy.
when did
That's in
this
the-
game
in
come
a-
out, Phil?
I think this game came out. That's a good question. It came out 2020. It came out this year, August 2024.
August 1st, yeah.
Yeah.
Published by
2024.
Panic Inc. and developed by Cold Supper, yeah.
Yes. It's got extremely good reviews on whatever review site you go to look at, Steam or anything else. You'll see that it's a very well reviewed game. And it's basically a game that combines like some adventure, some comedy, it's like a hand-drawn cartoon storybook that you interact with, and you play as this character who is nameless, I believe.
Yeah.
And you just kind of like walk around this quaint little British town I forgot the name of the town. You're in this little town. Barnsworth. Okay, you're in Barnsworth, and you have been tasked with just kind of like doing tasks around until you can meet with the mayor or something like that. So this sets you on a little adventure to walk around and discover and interact with people in the town throughout the day. I think it takes place in maybe one day. Does it? No, it must be. Maybe it's a couple days.
I'd say over a few hours.
Of real like time in the game.
I think it's like pretty real time, because you're in a waiting room at the start of the game to meet the mayor, and then it's like you've got some time to kill before he's ready to see you, so you just go out and meet the town residents and stuff.
So yeah, then let's get your overall impressions on this game before we deep dive into it. What did you think about this, Dennis? What did you think about it?
Well, I don't know if you guys know this, but I've never been to England before, so
Nor have
I took this as a very great documentary-like experience to show me what life is like in England.
What the people are like.
Yeah, at least it's what I thought it would be like.
We do have a lot of British friends, at least here.
We do, yeah, and they're just as absurd as
Yeah.
the characters in this game. No, but I think we've been exposed to British people and British comedy, and I think we're all fans to some extent of their output. And this game is super British.
Yes.
Doesn't hold back, but I think it's very, very charming. The animation is really fun. There's so many details and fun things to look at. It is cartoony in every way. Like it's like you're playing a cartoon, but it's not a lot going on with gameplay. It is technically, I guess, an adventure game, but I would say this game falls pretty easily into that experience slot that we talk about, where some games are about the gameplay and some games are just about an experience. And I would say that I enjoyed my experience with this. This was a fun, little journey, like watching a movie or a TV episode. Just, it was kind of just a happy little farce, and I enjoyed my time with it. It was funny. I laughed. From a gameplay perspective, I don't feel like there's not much there, but it's kind of like I don't know. It's hard to pin down what this is. It's you say you could call it an adventure game, like you said, Phil, and I think that's what they label it as. But it's still a little bit watered down in that gameplay mechanic, I think. So, but overall, I did enjoy it, and I think it was a fun time, and I'm glad I played it.
Okay, right on. How about you, Matt?
Yeah, similar for the most part. It's definitely, I think charming is one of the best ways to describe this game. It has a ton of charm to it. A lot of like, I don't know if wit is the right word, but it's just funny. It's a very funny game. The animation is very well done. It looks like it basically made me think of like a British Rick and Morty type thing. The comedy as well, the way the comedy's done can be very crude sometimes, but it's generally very funny. Not a great, kind of touched on it as a very funny representation, caricature version of the UK, kind of like middle of nowhere town where there's not a lot of jobs and like people, just backcountry type people. It was just fun. I enjoyed it. It did make me laugh as well. Gameplay again very simple, but I didn't have any. I didn't really have any issue with it. It was just kind of an exploration. It kind of felt like a very very simple point and click adventure game without any real difficult puzzles and no inventory or anything like that. Just going around slapping things and it was fun. I enjoyed it. So it's also short. It was like 2.5. I think it was less than 2.5 hours for me to finish. So easily done in one sitting if you want. Yeah, and yeah, it's well written. It's just all about, for me, it was all about the visual experience as well as the writing. It was very funny. So good stuff.
Right. For me, it was less than 2.5 hours as well. I did play the demo originally before we decided to do this, so that added a little time. So, but maybe roughly around 2 hours I took to finish, and I think 2 hours was like a good amount of time.
Yeah.
I think I must have left it on because I got 3.9 hours, so I don't know what I was doing. But yeah, I agree. I mean, basically the same thing. It's a charming game. It's kind of like a Saturday morning cartoon vibe, although I don't think it's for kids really, because it's kind of some adult stuff. It's
quite adult. Yeah. There's a dick in it.
Yeah, there is.
Was there
there's dicks in their previous game too.
The guy with the seagulls sitting on the toilet.
Yeah,
he had a dick.
Okay, I don't know if I recall looking that closely.
Yeah,
but,
I had to ask myself that a few times. Like,
yeah, I was
is that his dick?
Yeah, I was surprised. It's funny though.
Yeah, so which is something I want to get into, like if I had to be critical about it in some way, because it kind of has a vibe or gameplay level of like, oh, is this for children in the look? But yeah, the jokes and the comedy and some of the stuff that happens are not really for children. So
I think it's for children the same way Rick and Morty is for children, which basically isn't. It's like it looks like a cartoon, but it's quite adult in the humor and the.
Like, what if like some parent is like, get my kid. This looks like a charming little video game for my.
You know
child.
what this made me think of? Do you guys remember that "Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared" YouTube shorts?
Yeah.
Which are British. Not quite as dark as that, but like
those are way darker. But yeah,
like maybe like the first minute or two of those episodes. Reminded me of that. Like, starts out looking like a kids show, and then but it's a little bit off and bizarre, and reminded me of that a lot. There.
Yeah.
But it never gets super dark. It's mostly like a pretty happy experience.
Yeah, it's lighthearted. It's definitely lighthearted.
But it does have those, as you.
It just has some crude writing and like animations in it.
Crude in the way like a 13 or 14-year-old teenager would be behind. Like,
I guess kids. It's nothing like too. Yeah, maybe for like the British people are a bit more crude. Excuse me. let me. You know what I'm saying, or maybe more used to this sort of low-brow comedy. But
I wouldn't call it low-brow.
I'm teasing. I am teasing. Whatever you want to call this type of comedy. British comedy, I suppose.
Matt
Must be
Berry
the
is in
term
it
for
too.
this.
He's a voice. I
Yeah,
think he's
Matt
probably
Berry
definitely the most famous voice in
Who
it.
did he voice though?
The
gardener.
gardener guy, the green gardener guy.
Oh, I don't know who that is.
He did another voice as well, or maybe one or two other voices that pop up, but mostly he was the gardener.
Okay. So yeah, overall good impressions on the game. And I think we're gonna dive a bit more into describing how the gameplay of this game works. If Dennis, if you want to lead us into that discussion.
Sure. So yeah, as we said, it is an adventure game I guess the skeleton of it is that, but very lightly. It's not a point and click. You can control your guy, move him around the town. It's sort of a minimal sandbox kind of thing, but yeah, you can kind of move around as this small little guy, very very little guy. He's smaller than most of the people in the town, and your only action is you can jump and sort of a punch slap, and that's your main method of interaction with the world, is slapping everything. And you can slap pretty much everything, like anything you can see just about reacts to the slap. Slapping people, slapping butts, slapping boxes, slapping meat, like sausages, whatever. Anything can be slapped, and it has a very like comedic sound design to everything that's very satisfying. So it's fun to slap everything in the town, and you're going to want to do that. So that to me, that's like the main gameplay loop. Go around and slap things. That's your main method of interaction, but there is a sort of loose like direction to the game, I guess. So like you don't really have a goal or anything, but you just kind of go around the town and I guess help people in need in the town that ask you for help and send you on little quests.
I mean, that's why it's called "Thank Goodness You're Here." Like that's what people say when you arrive. Like,
right?
Thank
Yeah.
goodness you're here. I can't even do
Exactly,
a
yeah.
British
So,
voice.
like,
That was terrible.
They'll say that to you, and then they'll ask you like, "Can you unlodge me from this manhole?" Or "Can you get me my wrench that I lost?" Or my hammer, or that kind of thing. Or "I need some meat for my meat pies." All these kinds of like random tasks that people send you on, and you just kind of your main character doesn't talk. He just obliges and goes around looking in shops, street alleys, like wherever, the town square, rooftops, apartments. You just move around and slap things. Usually, sometimes you can push things, I guess.
I think you sometimes jump on some stuff too. I think
Jump on
Might be a few
things, yeah. Pretty simple interactions, and there isn't really a particular goal or level structure or anything. Just go around slapping and helping people. There are a lot of like, I guess loosely like fetch quests, but I guess the kind of stuff that you would normally see in an adventure game, but there's no like it's not really puzzly. There's a few like little like sort of mini games or like set piece kind of mini games that pop up, or like just little scenes where you interact with people, or sometimes separate from you, where you'll just watch like a bar patron come in and interact with the bartender while you're kind of doing stuff on the side or in the background. Or you're, for example, like mowing the lawn and there's two flowers acting out a weird scene talking to each other, and you're mowing the grass. So there are like little mini game-esque kind of things, but they're very, very like minimal interaction involved in them. But
maybe we should mention that your character like constantly changes size too. Like he'll go from regular human size to being like a little tiny
he can
mouse
become
or
like
something.
mouse sized. Yeah,
Yeah.
like, and
Yeah,
it's like
it's-
never, it's not explained or anything. You just kind of
No,
randomly
it's not
become like
acknowledged
a
and not
tiny
explained, yeah.
person. Yeah.
He's
It's great, though.
generally
At
always
will.
small in some form, but yeah,
Mm.
he can become like nearly microscopic.
He's normally like a Tyrion size, but he can become like a mouse for some reason. And it's
Yeah.
it's not like
Part
a
of the
power you have
charm.
to get. It's just
Right.
it just kind of randomly happens depending on the situation. And I
Mhm.
think he'd even be like even in like I don't know if you're in someone's body or something at some point. I think you might have been.
Yeah, but it all doesn't matter because it's just kind of such a bizarre, absurd world that you're
Yeah,
just
it's
like,
kind of
whatever.
dreamlike sometimes. It's a bit
Mm.
weird.
Yeah, there's
It's a
some
bit
weird
bizarre.
sequences. Yeah.
I was gonna say that the gameplay is probably my biggest gripe about this game, though. Even though it works because it's so short, but they could have easily done some sort of puzzles, like even minimal puzzles. You know what I'm saying? Like within the existing mechanics, I feel like. And so I don't know if it was just like an afterthought or laziness or something. But for example, like I think you get tasked with like having to like freshen up the fish at the fish stall for once. And you got to slap all the fish. They could have been like, oh, do it in a certain order or something like that. Or
Would that have been more fun though? I don't know.
well, I mean, it could have added just something. It could have just.
So you wanted to
I-
be more like stimulated, or like are intellectually?
I mean,
stimulated?
it like really. This is not like a big. I'm not like taking points of I like the game still, but like they could even with the existing things they could have done like. So move the boxes. Maybe you got to move a certain color of boxes, or maybe you got to get a specific box or that's labeled, or maybe you have to do something and then get that done before 30. Well, it's not like you would die or something like that, but I feel like they could have done really simple puzzles because there were basically 0 puzzles in the game, right? So
I guess, yeah.
could have
I mean,
been
the puzzle's
some
kind of like figuring
minimal,
out-
simple puzzle. You start the game, you think they're going to be puzzles, and you realize actually none of these they're not like even in puzzle level. You don't have to think at all. Just go around and slap it.
I see where you're coming from because that crossed my mind, but I thought about it, and I don't know if that would have made the game better. And I feel like
That's kind of my thought.
that was a conscious decision on the developers' part, is that they were more concerned with putting you in these situations, these absurd situations, and wanted you to move through them like very quickly and smoothly without any friction, so that you can just sit back and kind of enjoy the humor and the just the nonsense and the fun world without any trouble.
I could see
Yeah,
that.
Yeah,
I mean, like,
felt.
another game I thought of when I played this, slightly different because it's more point and click and a little bit more hardcore, was like the Monkey Island games.
Yeah, those are much more difficult, but yeah,
But those games are like notoriously difficult and have
and
very
like obtusely
hard-
difficult. Like
Yeah.
something that you would never even think of doing is what you have to do.
But the memorable fun part about those games to me is not like how obtuse
Right.
I was supposed to give this guy
That's
a
the
comic
anti-fun
book
part.
when it wasn't what I was thinking he needed. The fun
Yeah.
part is the world and the interaction with the people and how weird and odd everyone is. And so I it made me think about that, like, would a game like a game like that, like for example Monkey Island, benefit from having less of that friction there?
And I think if you knew exactly what you were doing, you could probably finish Monkey Island in almost the same amount of time as this game. Perhaps I think it's quite short.
I
if you knew
think
exactly what to do.
the only thing slowing you down is the point and click slow moving nature of it, moving around the island. Yeah.
But no, that's a good point. I think that's a good way to describe this. It's kind of like the Monkey Island. It's kind of like Monkey Island without any of that like difficult, kind of annoying puzzle
and there's no
stuff.
inventory, no guessing
Exactly.
about what items you have to
Well,
get
that's
to
what I'm saying.
someone.
Well, the puzzles wouldn't even have to be like at all even. But I'm saying there's not even like barely any critical thinking moments in the game. So I'm just saying it could have been just very simple stuff like get the number box 3 or something, or push them in this order first or something like that. I don't know. It doesn't have to be that difficult, but you realize at some point in the game, like, oh, you really don't have to like even exercise a single brain muscle.
What I think would have worked more for this particular game's vibe is the like to have something like more mini game esque, like WarioWare or something. Do you remember the WarioWare
Yeah,
games?
those are good games.
Those games
like
just
little
have
tiny
like
quick mini games.
quick mini games. Yeah, and I feel like they almost kind of flirt with that a little bit here, slightly. There were some moments, especially near the end. There's a song sequence.
Oh yeah, that was really fun.
That part reminded me of WarioWare.
Yeah,
that was awesome. It was like
rhythmic.
much longer than I thought it would be.
Yeah, it kept going. It was great.
But
and that was
so
because
like,
it was just like, yeah. Anyway,
I kind of thought like something more of that. Yeah, like where like quick mini games, interactive. You know, it could be button mashing or push this or hold this or like I feel like that would have fit the atmosphere and the gameplay would have matched the vibe. I think it wouldn't have slowed anything down. But again, like it's a 2-hour game and I'm happy with what I played. Playing it as an experience first, not a gameplay first game.
Yeah, no, I was generally fine with the gameplay. I didn't mind it being simple, and
I'm glad it wasn't a point and click. That would have made it
me too.
like a slog.
I really wouldn't have enjoyed that.
I guess it's a good segue into level design, Matt.
Sure. So the level design is you're in this town, very small town, and you basically just make your way from like one end of the town through this kind of circular path that kind of just goes around the town, and to different sections, and each section is kind of like a little tiny sandbox where you can go around slapping different things and seeing how you can interact with things and open doors and go into shops, things like that. But eventually, you'll find a place that leads you like on another path to get to the next area. And it was weird because like when I first played this, I didn't really understand this, but you basically end up doing the same thing over and over again. Like you go on the same path multiple times. You go through the entire town multiple times. So you actually have to not backtrack. It's more like a circle. So you just keep going on this path over and over again. But there are different like little branches each time. So it's not exactly the same every time. But you do. Sometimes I felt like, oh, I shouldn't go down this hole because I've already been down it. But actually, that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to go down that hole again to like get to the next area, and that's actually how you progress. So that was probably my one frustrating thing with this game, is that I didn't always realize that I was supposed to do the thing that I had already done to advance. Because I would go like around the little sandbox area like 3 times, trying to find a new direction to go in, and I couldn't. Yeah. I thought maybe it was hidden somewhere, but I couldn't find it. So like, all right, fine, I'll just go back down this hole that I've already been down. But then that ends up progressing the story. So that was just a little bit frustrating. Not a massive deal, but
they did a pretty decent job of blocking off like areas.
Yeah, so that's what you learn eventually. I think that's, after doing that a couple times, that's when I realized, okay, they actually block off the areas that you can't go to, or that aren't correct. It's just when you first see that still being open and you can go through it again. You're like, oh, well, I've already done that. I don't know if, it doesn't seem like the right way to go.
How the levels are structured.
Yeah.
How there's
so you just go around in the same kind of loop for the most part with a few offshoots every time. And every time it's different, the story progresses and whatnot. And you see there's actually a lot of cutscenes, especially closer to the end. It'll just like cut and show you like a scene, sort of like just watching a cartoon. Which is fun. But yeah, that's basically it. You go into a lot of shops, you're outside a lot. As you said, you just kind of explore different areas of this town. But the level design is generally very simple. There's not really any platforming for the most part. There's a couple times where you're like jumping up shelves or something. But it's very simple. And it's fun. And it's a charming town and, full of funny characters that you can slap and hear them say funny things.
Yeah, I do like how the town changes over the day. Like all those things happen, and it kind of like
so like the things that you did earlier in the game will
like
stay there. So when you come back, like there's like a huge mess that you made at some point, it'll still be there. And sometimes people like will be interacting with it, or
There was like one or two times where I felt slightly annoyed that like I couldn't just go back the way I came.
Right. Yeah.
It's like,
Kinda felt
oh,
that
they
way.
want me to go to the meat shop, or I remember the meat shop or the pie shop or wherever.
Right.
Like I remember where that was. It was before I came here. Can I
Right.
go back? And I can't.
No.
It
It's-
forces
it's-
you to continue forward. Like
Exactly. And it's
Yeah.
kind of weird because they tell you in the game you have to go to the meat shop, but then like you move forward and then like you get some other task like while you were thinking like, oh, I have to go to the meat shop, and then it just like throws another task at you and you have to do that. But you just,
But
you find
usually
out as
that
you-
task is
as you
connected to
continue,
probably the meat
as you
shop
continue
or
through it,
something.
you realize like it leads you back to the meat shop at some point.
well, yeah, that's like if you have some adventure game brain already like established from previous games you've played, you know, your gamer mind is going to be like, oh, well, I got to go there. Or even it doesn't even have to be an adventure game, even like an open world game, any kind of game that has a fetch quest. You think, well, like I got to go from point A to point B and do this task and bring this back to that person. But like
right.
this game is not structured in that way. It's just kind of like, nah, just keep going. You'll get there and it'll lead you there, and you
Right,
don't have to
yeah.
worry.
Basically, you don't have
just-
to worry about it. You don't have to worry about
It's,
like
it's
getting
almost
somewhere.
on rails.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's almost on rails. You
It's
just have to
kind of
find
on
the
rails,
path.
yeah.
You just have to go to the path that's available, essentially. Sort of like, and this was funny because this wasn't a British game, but it was a very Scottish game. Still Wakes the Deep.
Right.
Which
Completely different vibe though.
obviously that was a
suppose.
horror game,
Yeah.
which was also very, very realistic. Nothing like this cartoon, but in terms of like the vibe with the language, which was very Scottish, this one's very British, and also the same thing. Like they have like the English or American English subtitles for the the jargon and the slang that they use in those regions that normally you wouldn't be able to understand.
Right. They
It's always
give you
written at the
an
bottom.
option right from the start if you want to change.
Oh, that's right. And they do have an option for some other language, don't they? Or is that from?
Well,
Or is that still
there's
Wakes the Deep?
there's an option you can choose dialect, which
Right.
just it doesn't change the I don't think it changes the language, like the voice acting. It just changes the subtitles and also it
match.
changes the UI. Like
Oh.
anytime any UI, there's very limited, but whenever any UI stuff comes up, it changes it from like comprehensible English to very hardcore British English.
That's funny. I should have tried that. I didn't try that. But yeah, that was a cool part of the game too. But anyway, I think we're getting more into vibes. So maybe, unless you guys have more to say about the level design, maybe we should jump into that.
No, that's pretty much it.
The only other thing is I would say is that there was something about the level design or philosophy to this game that kind of reminded me of like a Goat Simulator or like Untitled Goose Game, where you just kind of like go around
Wander
and just goof around to some
Right.
extent. Like some
Right.
areas, like there. I think there's a lot of achievements in this game that you won't necessarily unlock, that are just kind of hidden behind random interactions. Like
Slapping
was-
the right thing.
yeah.
Slap that ass.
Did you get the? I don't know if everybody got this, but the smacky bum bum.
Yeah, I got that. That was really funny. Smacky bum bum was really funny. Not again.
We're gonna smack a lot of bums.
There's a guy in like a food truck or something that if you smack his ass enough times, he closes his food truck window and then it says closed due to smacky bum bum.
I don't think I got smacky bum bum.
Yeah, that was a side.
You
Not a
missed
side
out,
quest. It
man.
was just a optional thing you could.
It was
and
so
not even,
funny.
I wouldn't even call it optional. Just kind of hidden.
Yeah. So like I think there's a lot of moments in the game that you could miss. So you want to slap as many things as possible.
Yeah, I'm missing.
God, the
11.
comedy in this game was actually like really funny. Like there was several laugh out loud moments for me, which I don't usually get from games.
Yeah, so the vibe is a very comical, like whimsical, like vibe, and just it's not serious, and things are not really realistic. Like you can be big or small, and you deal with like all sorts of characters. You even deal with like the mice. There's like these mice that have a campaign against humanity, and
I want to shout out. I really liked the the name of the supermarket is called Price Shaggers.
Yeah, price.
Yeah, Price
And then,
Shaggers.
but then when you go into
I actually
the
like
to the
that.
attic of the supermarket where they have like a mouse community,
The mouse supermarket.
it's called Mice Shaggers.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some really kind of like funny things there going on, and I think there was like an overarching story about finding this like criminal guy, actually, right?
Well, that comes like halfway through the game, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I think it was fairly early on, but like it's
not
just
that
kind of
early.
like,
Or was it?
yeah, like they're like,
it's
oh,
only
there's
2
this
hours,
guy.
so.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, like early on, they're like he's like there's a criminal on a loose, and you just kind of see him a bunch of times, like walk off
So,
or
well,
something. But
like, how does the game start? Like, what is the general?
how does the game start?
Yeah,
You arrive in
don't remember.
Barnsworth. You arrive in Barnsworth, and you're like in the mayor's office for some reason. I
That's
don't
where
even
it
know
starts. It starts when you're.
you're
in the mayor's
you're a
office, I think.
salesman who's been assigned to Barnsworth,
That's
and you've
right.
just arrived.
why.
Right.
Okay.
That never comes up like ever again.
No. And
They're
then
like, hey-
you're basically in a waiting room, and the secretary says that you have like the mayor is busy right now.
Right.
So I think she suggests that you go like check out
Just,
the
like,
town.
walk around
and so,
until
but you can't
it's
even
ready.
go out the door. You just have to jump out the window.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny.
Yeah, so then you just end up doing all this stuff for several hours, I guess, and coming back.
Yeah, I think like you immediately come upon a dude who's like stuck in a sewer drain.
Yeah.
And he's just like, "Oh, thank goodness you're here. You can get me out. Get me some butter," or something like that.
Yeah, I think you gotta get
And
him
you have
butter.
to slide him
Yeah,
out with butter.
Butter him up.
Yeah.
Butter him up.
So that, you
Get him
know,
out of
it
there.
starts off really silly, and maintains that silliness throughout.
I do like the guy at the chimney in the house. Like
The
he's,
chimney
like,
guy was
sweet.
funny.
He's slowly getting like pissed off, but he's still polite about it.
He just gets
Kind of.
more and more
Oh, the
pissed
guy in the
every
house.
time.
That you go through the chimney. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you basically get sit on him every time you come out of the chimney, and he's just like, yeah, every time you do that, he just gets more and more pissed, but he's still like polite about being pissed.
Right, yeah. Oh, just come in anytime you want. Why don't you? I'll get you a key made. Yeah,
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
No, yeah, there's lots of funny moments. I think one of the
One
ones
of the
that made me laugh was like there's this cutaway there's this dude who runs a supermarket who's got like a really long head. He looks like a cone head from old SNL. And like there's this cutaway of him like growing up with this massive head. He was born, and just like people are shitting on him constantly. And there was this one line, I wrote it down because it was so funny. There was like kids making fun of him. They said roses are red, violets are blue. Roger's got a big head and he's a massive bell end. And then,
That's what turned him into like he was like angry or something at you. I think before like you see that vision of
and the
Yeah, very
constant fighting between like big pies versus small pies. Like there's like these two competing stores, one that makes big pies and one that makes small pies. And like everyone has a side, like, oh, I like the big pies, oh, I like the small pies. Like there'll be no big pies in this house.
yeah, he gets pissed off to
There's
dad
like
or
a
something.
family, yeah. The daughter brings home a boyfriend that likes big pies, and he gets pissed.
I'm trying to think of some standouts for me. I thought this was
can't
more of
remember
a
too many.
like a subtle thing, but there's this guy standing behind a fence pushing sausages through a hole.
Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah, that's kind of gross.
Oh,
I don't know
get
what that
some
was
more
about.
Sausages.
It doesn't make any
There you
sense
go.
at all.
Oh, I dropped it. I dropped another one.
Yeah, just slowly sliding sausages through a hole.
Yeah, let me push another one.
Yeah. Oh, I dropped that one too. Yeah.
So that's the vibe. It's ridiculous, kind of like
super ridiculous. Definitely ridiculous.
I don't. Is there
Really
anything you would
compared
compare it to? You
I
said
think
Rick
so.
and
I think
Morty.
Really, like Rick and Morty is the closest thing I could think of.
Rick and
My-
Morty minus the sci-fi, I guess.
I guess you remember those episodes of Rick and Morty where they just watch like intergalactic
Yes.
television.
Yes. Yeah.
Kind of reminds me of
Kind
that.
of like that.
Very
or
much. So.
And-
even like SpongeBob or Ren and Stimpy a little bit. Like
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's all that
Um,
that style, that kind of ridiculous, random,
Just wacky.
funny shit.
I wish they had more musicals. I like the musical piece. I
Mm.
mean, not to ruin it for anybody, but
The one at the
There's
very
a-
end.
yeah, the musical piece at the end. I thought it was like
That was
Yeah,
really
really
good,
cool.
really funny. I think so. Yeah, like at the end, it's not really a spoiler, but you basically, you've been doing these random tasks through the whole thing, and then at the end, it does like this massive montage of you just like doing hundreds and hundreds of tasks over and over and over again, like all the remaining tasks. They don't actually make you like go through the game and do it, but it implies that he keeps doing like all these favors for people nonstop, and they do turn it into like this rhythmic, like musical game. Really simple,
like
but
cutting,
Like
cutting
cut the
fish.
potatoes, fish. Like it's fucking awesome. Yeah.
my head's on a fish. Cut me in half. Something like, shit like that. Okay.
So yeah, enjoyable. Yeah, I guess there's not too much to say more about it though. Like it's not anything too.
It's
in-depth
just
to
very.
talk about.
It's really well written. It's very charming. The voice acting is really good.
It's easy to get through.
The sound design is really good. Yeah, it's easy to play. It's a really just kind of a fun. It's like watching an episode of Rick and Morty, or something like that.
Yeah.
I wonder though, like, I think there are people who are definitely not going to get it and just not gonna understand. Or not,
it is definitely
or not
British
vibe.
humor. I think a lot of it, but
It's not. It's probably not for the average Call of Duty fan.
average
Like,
what?
I hate to say that, Call of Duty fan, but
Yeah,
like,
not a
No,
lot of people.
completely different, like opposite ends of.
I feel like
spectrum.
like you said, this game isn't really for kids. I feel like younger generation probably wouldn't enjoy this game very much. It doesn't seem like something they'd be into.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I'm not really sure who it's for. It's an interesting game in that way. I'm not
It is
really
kinda
sure
like South
like
Park, too. South
who it's really
Parky.
for, but
I-
it is a
yeah.
unique game. It's a unique game that's fun and easy to go
I'd say the vibe is and story. Well, not story. The vibe is probably the strongest point of the game altogether.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the only thing other than that one level design thing, the one thing that I think that it's kind of expensive, but I can understand why. The animation's really good.
So we're back on
And so is the voice acting and
money.
the writing. I think it
So
was
I
worth
guess-
it. I'm not saying it was poorly priced. I think it's actually accurately priced. It was just when
Okay,
I
we
saw
can-
it, when I knew the length, I knew how long it was, and I saw how expensive it was. I was a little bit like, it seems a little expensive, but it was actually worth it in the end. I think it's fairly priced.
So
based on
that's
the
your final
experience.
thought already. But
Sorry,
that's your final
jumped
thought on
ahead.
it.
Yeah,
You did. But I thought the same thing though. I was like, it's $20. I think probably.
I think it's
And I was like,
25.
it's a little
I thought.
expensive for like how much gameplay, but like you're saying, you look at it more of like a movie or like a cartoon or something that you can interact with. Then I'm like, okay, I was entertained thoroughly. So like, while I do think it's I don't want to say it's expensive. I don't think it's expensive, but it's like the other thing is there's not really that much replay value probably. So I don't think you can really, unless you just want to experience it all again.
Yeah,
I would say that if you're thinking about it as an experience, like, and I want to like have fun for 2 hours or for a weekend or something, and just like go through this fun little thing. Think of it that way. Don't think of it as replay value. And if
Yeah.
and I do see some replay value. I would go back and play this game just to experience like the vibes and fun atmosphere again. Probably I'd have to wait until I forgot everything that happened. Maybe a
it's sort of
couple
like
years.
watching a movie. I feel like a funny movie.
Right.
Like I'd want to watch it again, but not immediately.
Right. Not for the gameplay, just for the jokes, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel the same
I
way.
think there is, and I think there is some replay value in like maybe there's some things that you didn't catch the first time through. Maybe there's some interactions that you didn't have, because I think there is some stuff you can miss.
I mean, how many achievements did you get out of there are 32 achievements. How many did you get out of
Ooh,
the
I don't know.
32?
This is a good question.
In my case, I got 21 out of 32, so I missed a fair bit, I guess.
That's true. You could go back for the achievements, see what you missed. There's
And this is a
definitely
game where the
something.
achievements I feel like would be meaningful, like
yeah.
because there would be interactions.
They're not just like
and
dumb. They're not just like dumb fetch quests or anything like that.
Right.
It would be like
It'd probably have a
seeing new
joke and
content.
dialogue.
Yeah, new funny dialogue to check out.
I know I got
I
one
have
for.
25 out of 32.
Oh,
Oh damn! Okay, you got me beat.
let me see.
What was
mine.
yours, Matt?
I have to pull it up here. I have.
Well, we know that Phil didn't get Smacky Bum Bum.
I did not get Smack
I
Bum
have
Bum.
23 out of 32.
Everybody got more than me.
23.
Damn.
All right. I think I had the benefit of playing the demo, and then when I bought the game, I started from the beginning. So I probably played the first like 20 minutes or 15 minutes of the game twice.
I see.
So maybe that
Okay.
helped me out. Gave me a little boost.
But yeah, good game. Definitely. I think it's a great bite-sized game. I think this is a really good bite-sized game.
Yeah,
That
this no friction. You can finish it quickly. You'll have a good time. Yeah, I mean, if the price feels too high, then it'll probably be on sale someday.
I can see it being on sale like easily, like 50% off.
I wouldn't
there, so.
not do it. I wouldn't not buy it if you have the means to afford it. If you know what I mean. Like I don't think it's like you don't need to. I don't think it should be priced at a lower price. Is what I'm saying. Like I think it's accurately priced. So don't feel like you have to wait for it to go on sale to play it.
I will say that, like I'm looking forward to what this game studio puts out in the future, and I'm gonna keep an eye on it.
So yeah, thank you for that wraps up our show today.
What's our next game, Phil?
Our next game is going to be Killer Frequency.
Is that right?
Yes.
So yeah, we'll be doing Killer Frequency, which is a retro DJ cool fun game. We'll get into that.
Retro J game. That's all I heard.
Retro J game, DJ game.
Oh, DJ
game. Yeah. Thank you for listening. You can find us on social media at bitesizegames_, and that will be like Instagram and all the normal social media, all that jazz. And you can also email us at bitesizegames.info@gmail.com if you have any game suggestions or any feedback or any thoughts or anything. Reach out to us.
We are on YouTube as well. With I think just Bite Size Games
Bite Size
TV,
Games TV.
Something like that. But our handle, like when you go to the page, it just says Bite Size Games. I think.
Bite Guys Games.
Bite Guys Games. So
just
check us out on YouTube. We got our videos
Guys
up there.
Games TV.
Bite-sized games.
Bite-sized guys at games.tv.
Oh yeah, it's at Bite-sized Games TV on YouTube. So check us out.
At Bite-sized Games. Yeah, you heard that. So check us out next time and look forward to Killer Frequency.